Hercules, California at 718 Alfred Noble Drive. The second one is in El Sobrante at 3550 San Pablo Dam Road, Suite F. Welcome to the show, Kola.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Anytime, my brother. So, Kola, you are a black belt under Luiz Claudio and Thiago Veiga, correct?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
How does that feel?
Pretty amazing, actually, to be honest. It was a very long journey to get to that point. And then I got there and realized I still didn't know anything, and so and then the journey really began. But man, you know, I fell in love with Jiu Jitsu from day one. And it was, back then there was no one. It's not like now where you can go online and you can have all these instructionals and do all these things. It was a very, very different time. And so there's no way. There's absolutely no way I would have made it to the point then or really where I am now without Luis.
That is awesome.
It's an emotional thing for me, man, because I tell you, some hurdles that I've had to go through. And, he was there day one, like just helping in ways no one else would, and Thiago as well, obviously. So,
right.
Just, super, super happy to, I'm an emotional guy. So, of course, I got my belt. I cried as usual, right? but it was an amazing day. November 14th, 2014.
Congratulations. Unbelievable. Yes. So when you guys started on the very first podcast, you were on Facebook and you were typing in messages and stuff. So the day started back in West LA, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that at Rickson School, correct?
Man, the lab. So
the lab,
the original
place,
lab,
the place where people used to cry and your mom could not hear. There's a saying, everybody that would go there, like people used to call. Like, I'll let you talk in a sec, but it was so funny because people used to call, with Limão and whoever was teaching at the time, and ask them like, "Hey, is Rickson gonna be there?" And if Rickson was there, it was a nightmare because, bro, everybody would be like, you would never go train less than 100%. Like, right. You had to be on point.
Right.
So it's badass. Like, just one thing before I keep saying, I'm just putting a little bit here on my Facebook. So, guys, whoever's watching, Chris, can you tell them where so they can eventually see this?
Yeah, it's going to be on YouTube, the whole thing, video and everything, video and audio. Starting today, we're going to post it probably later on tonight. It'll be up for you probably first thing, like 6 a.m. in the morning. You can watch the whole thing. So you guys don't have to tune into Facebook. You can go straight to YouTube, watch it on there, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. It'll also be on all the platforms for podcasting. So it'll be on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, you name it, it's going to be there. So it's going to be episode number 4, Kola out of Hercules Jiu Jitsu and BJJ.
All right, guys. So I know some of you guys are can't hear because Kola is, we FaceTiming, but at 6 p.m. Celeste is going to be here. So you'll be able to listen a little bit. So we'll let you guys listen a little bit about Celeste's story. But then, like Chris said, you'll be able to see the whole thing on YouTube and all that stuff. All right? So I look forward to see you guys. And we'll be back at 6 p.m. with Celeste. So this way she'll be here and you'll be able to see the whole thing. All right? And actually here. Us, thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right, Kola, go ahead.
So your question was, how was it back then, when it started? And I think, some of the things that people don't realize is when you talk about the real Lion's Den, it was a Lion's Den, and of course, Rickson is, I don't even know if there are words to describe Rickson. I think, people are under this impression that, it's just hype, it's a myth. No, not at all. Not at all.
Legit.
When you see it with your own eyes, what he's able to do with no hands, forget him using his hands, with no hands, you have a whole new appreciation for, the way in which the body can move, right, and the mechanics. Mm-hmm. But even before getting to them, I walked in I was, I guess, 26, and I just seen the UFC, and I wasn't married then, didn't have kids, so I would work and
So
live. I would go to the
was
gym.
that the first day for you? Straight 26 years old, walk right in the gym, no
Yep.
previous background? Okay.
No previous background in jiu-jitsu. I've done other martial arts. I've done karate and Thai boxing and a little bit of judo, and so I've always loved martial arts since I was like a little boy.
Right.
So, and I remember I saw the UFC. I saw Hoist, and I saw those fights, and I was like, "Holy smokes! What is this?" And it just so happens that I lived in Culver City, so I'm driving. It's funny. I'm driving down Pico, and I see this sign. I think it's a white sign with green writing or something like that. Sign, and it says Rickson Gracie. And all I just remembered was the last name, Gracie. And of course, back then no one knew anything. You saw Hoist, you figured that he's the guy. And I remember I went down there to a class, and Lamau was teaching. And you got to understand, I was probably 185, 190, but in really great shape. I literally would work and go to the gym. So I walk in, and you have this, and of course, as sometimes we tend to do, you're a bigger guy, you walk in, you're like, check it out, and like, okay, how real is this?
Right.
And I remember at the end of the first class, normally you're not really allowed to roll or anything like that, but at the end of the first class, we're doing situational training. And I can't remember his name for the life of me, but what I do remember is he was probably maybe 145. Okay, maybe. So I had 40 pounds on him, and I was like, man, there's no way. Like, first day or not, I know how to fight. Let me tell you what. I got triangled 3 times in a row in about less than 2 minutes. and then I after the class, I went straight to Lamau. I signed on it. He was like, how much of the class is? $200 a month? Done. How much is the gi? Done. Just signed on the spot because, one thing for me, I learned how to play chess when I was 4.
Right.
And I've been playing chess my whole life, and I love that tactical battle, if you will. And that's what jiu-jitsu became to me. It's like, man, this is insane. And so you had the lineup there. You had Luis, you had Bo, you had Cristiano Marcelo, you had Henry Rickson. You have all these guys who are just complete assassins, and people sort of see them now, but even back then, it was tough. And so the beginners, so the white belts, we weren't allowed to stay inside the building for the advanced class, which I
they made you leave?
Oh, man, not only did they make us leave, but Luis, remember how they had the little 2 windows at the front, and then Rickson and Lamau, they would put T-shirts over it so we couldn't look in? Look, many, many times I would wait and try to look through the windows and wait till the class was over and try to get Luis to say what happened.
Yeah.
True.
Because you weren't allowed in until you were at that level. And so it was tough trying to, if you were really, really hungry to learn, it was tough trying to get more. I wanted more and more and more. And, I cannot reiterate enough, man, how much Luis helped me, because I would go to his house. I'll go to his house. We'd take privates on the floor. And on the floor, he'd lay down a few mats and just be there for hours. And man, that helped me so much. And then you go to class, just like you said. When Rickson's there, you want to impress. But for me, it was more like, okay, when I'm coming to class, I don't want to make this sound kind of hokey or whatever, but to me, Rickson is just everything, right?
Right.
But also for someone just starting, somewhat unattainable in a sense. Do you know what I mean? So for me, my direct wanting to impress was always Luis. It was always Luis. It's like, man, okay, he's here. I got to show him. And it was a great time. That's all. It was an amazing time for jiu-jitsu.
Only who lived that time understand.
Yeah, it was.
Every time we see someone, we meet some of the guys from the back in the days, like when they start talking about it, you can see their eyes, the light in their eye. Like, dude, only who was in that era that saw the things we saw,
Yeah.
that lived the things we lived, understand how amazing it was to share a gym, a mat, the knowledge with Rickson Gracie on point, on the place, right there with us and talking, every, single class. And, it's like, well, we're very blessed, man, we're very blessed.
Absolutely. I think one of the most amazing things is if you look at most sports or art forms, if you will, it's very rare that you get to not just touch and feel the sort of icon, but actually like experience life with them through their eyes, but also through your own interpretation directly of what's happening in that moment, And so it was just an incredible time, I think, and for me, it got to the point where all I wanted to do was go to work and go train, go to work and go train. That's it. I think for the first 2 years, because there's always more, there's, wow, how did you do this? How did you do that? And I think in the beginning, you're searching for more until you realize that you actually don't need more, in many ways you need less, and you need to focus on those little minute details, which, but we can talk about that later. But it was an amazing, some great stories, I do have a funny story. I remember one day, Nico and I, we had met.
Nico, I think Nico has a gym in Indonesia, right?
Yeah, huge gym in Indonesia.
Indonesia, yeah. So I talked to him a couple months ago, and I was like, bro, I gotta go to Indonesia. I want to surf there.
Yeah.
And he goes like, when you want to come? It was before the, all the Corona stuff. And I'm like, Nico, I really want to go. I really want to set it up a date, and I want to go there so bad. So we should plan that and go there, do a seminar and surf. I think that Hanzo told me he's ready to go. So
yeah, Nico is, here's the other thing. We had such an amazing crew, man, just the vibe and the energy of all the people there. We would get on the mats and try to murder each other for a few hours and then go eat,
tell the story about Nico. I stop you.
So I remember one day, Nico and I, we got a hold of this VHS tape. I think it was, I want to say it was GoCore or someone doing leg locks, man. And I tell this story to this day to all my students. And so we're watching it. And of course, it's VHS. So you got to forward rewind, try to figure out what's going on. And so in my mind, I'm like, man, tomorrow I'm going to go to class. I'm going to surprise Luis, and it's going to be great. And he's going to go, man, how did you learn this? Man, let me tell you what happened. So I get to class. I try leg lock on him, and he kind of gives me this look like, For the next 45 minutes, Luis leg locked me over and over. And you know how at the end of every round, it's, okay, switch new partners? He's like,
You
stay here. 45 minutes, nothing but leg lock. Of course, he could have submitted me however he wanted, but leg lock over and over again. And, then we had a cool conversation afterwards about, understanding mechanics and learning while you're doing it. And I was like, man, that was, it's there are times in jiu-jitsu when people roll with you just to smash you, right?
Right.
You don't get much out of that, right? And there are times when they roll with you to teach you, but in such a way that makes it very, very real. And kid you not, that experience was early 97, late 96. And to this day, it's one thing I use with my students because, theory is great. But when you actually are feeling and like, man, I probably had 50 pounds on Luisa, maybe 60. And it was like, he wasn't sweating. And I was like, God, please let this round end. I want to go home.
I don't remember
So
about this, but if you're saying, yeah.
I remember it very well.
He remembers.
Well, you
But
know, man.
we
Go
had
ahead.
good times, man. I wanted to, I've always been a competitor in other sports my whole life, in track and rugby and things like that. So I wanted to compete. And Luis's always thing was, okay, if you're going to compete, we're not just showing up. We used to go run I remember we used to go run the Manhattan sand dunes, and we would train on the beach, and it was just like, man, he's killing me. But it was amazing. It was amazing, and I think, I would honestly attribute, a lot of the success that my academy has and the students have is to what I learned from him. That's, and people want to say this and that, but that's the honest to goodness truth. He sent me a VHS test of a VHS tape of Danilo when he was a yellow belt.
Mm-hmm.
And the things I saw on that tape, I was like, man, it is possible. It is possible. So yes, you are going to do 1,000 reps of this, and you might be bored, but then you're going to do another 1,000 reps until it's perfect. And so right now, sometimes on the mat we have 5 youth world champions at a time, and little El Sobrante. We're not a big place, and but it's a lot of the discipline and the details really of what he shared. So, and that started then, and it's been amazing, man. I have a blessed life. I have a blessed life. I'm a very fortunate individual. To have been able to cross paths, I think a lot of people have different experiences through jiu-jitsu. Mine has been unbelievable, good, bad, otherwise, but it's been unbelievable.
Right.
And tell me, so the year that you started, you didn't train jiu-jitsu before, did you?
I did not train jiu-jitsu before at all.
Okay.
At all.
But he one thing, man, I want to bring it up. It's like, Kola, dude, he's a big guy. You know what I'm saying? He's strong as it could be, But the good thing about Kola, it was always like you would roll him back in the days, and he was like, man, it's like, yeah, I do have the technique, but man, this guy, if he really goes, full motion, he doesn't get tired. That's what I was always praying for. I mean, the amount of strength you had. So the good thing, and I think that made you, so more technical, and like you were always studying the art. I remember, we taping the privates, writing on paper. You know what I'm saying? I think those are the most important things in jiu-jitsu that, like we always talk about, and we always hear Rickson saying, is that the importance of, not just be a competitor, but also being a teacher, being a coach,
Yes.
being a good instructor, having, the opportunity to show a good program. And this is the things that I feel, seeing you and your school and how much you grew as an instructor and as a businessman. It makes a huge difference, and watching you, bringing all the kids, and my son Hanzo was fighting at the international, world's kids in Vegas, and we were there, and it's such an amazing thing, a lot of people don't realize, or they never had the chance. It's like, dude, the friendship goes way back in the days,
Right.
the attitude passes on from Rickson to me to you, and now to your students. And that's why, it's super cool. You're getting some of the kids that you're having now, and they're becoming world champion. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, we're not like a really, really famous guy, you know what I'm saying, like compared to some of the top guys.
Right.
But, you're getting, here you go, your school is up there, winning a bunch of tournaments, winning a bunch of, medals. So, but at the end of the day, how much influence, how much we are able to change in the community that we live now, in your case there, my case here. And we have such a powerful tool to be able to share with people and change their lives. It's like I always hear, how like happy and blessed, you are, to me and Thiago at the time, but we're also blessed because the friendship that we built in all these years, the respect,
Right.
it's mutual. It's such a good important thing that people understand that that's what jiu-jitsu does.
Absolutely.
It's like we became brothers, of blood and soul, with one goal, which was learning the best jiu-jitsu, man, from Rickson Gracie, Helio Gracie, and I always tell people our stories, the things we lived, how hard it was. I had to deliver pizza Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, to be able to do some extra thing. And, all the time, all the training we used to do, or in my dad's garage, or in my living room in my house, just rapping, you, me, and Thiago.
Yep.
But, it did pay off for sure because look where we are, look what we're getting, and there's nothing better, man, than, be able to be recognized in this world of jiu-jitsu, which is really tough.
Right.
Not to be like a fake BJJ. You know what I'm saying? We call the McDonald's jiu-jitsu. We don't have that here. You know what I'm saying? The importance, because it is, man. You have so many people out there that they train, they put their effort, they do all that stuff, but at the end of the day, they were not as lucky as we are. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I was a channel to pass the stuff that, because of our friendship, we pass, we're able to pass. And of course, we're at the gym too, but then on the weekends, we're, rap
Right.
together and all that stuff. But the most important of all, man, it's, what we have become, how legit we are, and be able to see that what we do have results,
Exactly.
So now it's like, man, all the effort, all the work, all the hard work,
It pays off.
It exactly pays off. So I really, it really makes me, complete, happy, and honored to, to have that, because we do have a lot of people that goes through our lives. That you had that, now you're black belt and you have your gym. So I know you had headaches with people that are ungrateful, or people that wants to literally to do it wrong towards you or your business, and those are the people that you help the most. But
Yeah.
it is life, but along the way in the jiu-jitsu journey, we do make a lot more friends than enemies. So that's a very important thing. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree entirely. I think the journey is amazing. There are obviously some valleys as well as the peaks, if you will. There's some times that are tough, but I always remember, what honestly drives me is how it was in the beginning. I think that people see everything now, and I don't think the organization, they see LCCT now, they see everything that you've done now, they see everything you've created now, but they don't remember. They weren't there when you were putting on the black boots, going to work on the oil rigs. They weren't there when,
No, yeah.
all those times when I remember begging you for a private one Sunday because like I just wanted more, and you did it. And I know you just got off work. You know what I mean? I know you just got off work and you're exhausted, but I'm like, hey, I can come, a couple hours, And here's one thing I want to say. And this is nothing against anyone else, but Luis was willing to help. You understand? And that's a big deal. That's a big deal because he didn't have to. He didn't have to go out of his way. He didn't have to do anything. And it made a difference. This is why we can move away from each other. When they moved back to Brazil, I remember that day. Remember that day we were outside your dad's house, and they have a picture of you, myself, and Thiago, and we're there. And I was just like, man, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? He's leaving, and of course, I know I stayed at Rickson's obviously for a few more, another year and a half before I moved out of LA, but. There was probably an 8 or 9 year period of time that I didn't see you guys. And so, after I moved from LA, some different things happened and I stopped training. I stopped training for 8.5 years. And
That long, huh?
I stopped training for a long time because, well, let me not say so.
Right.
On and off, but more off than on.
Not
Okay?
like it was.
Not even close. Maybe I would train once every other week or 2 weeks, and then for a period of time after my first son was born, I stopped completely. And I remember, I went to work in Florida for a little bit, and I started training. I would go to Marcio Simas's every now and then I came back to the Bay Area. Long story short, I started training again, and then I ended up at the Worlds, and I went down there to watch a friend, and I ran into Thiago, and I was like, if you could see the smile on my face, man, it was the best day ever. And then we just completely reconnected. It was just like old times. It's like, man, I got to get you guys out to California. Let's see what we can make happen, and it kind of went from there. And I remember we were training one day, and I always felt like, so let me rewind so this story makes sense. Thiago and I took our blue belt test on the same day, same time. Okay. When I rolled with Thiago later on after that period, I was like, holy mother of God. It was the most enlightening experience. I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah. And I've got 50 pounds on Thiago easy. And he murdered me. And then Luis murdered me. And I don't know if you remember what you said at that time. I think I was a purple belt or whatever. And I was, these are my, this is my instructor coming back. I want to impress him. And man, by the time he got back and I saw them, I'd been training a lot then. I'd been training twice a day for about a year and a half. And I was kind of back to form, and I was having a lot of success. We trained, and he told me, look, it's not that, and he tapped me like 500,000 times. Let me say that first, okay? And he said, it's not.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
I'll never forget this, because he said to me, it's not that you're, because I was bummed. I'm like, man, I'm training 4 hours a day, and my jiu-jitsu is just garbage. And it's like, this is terrible. And he said to me, no, that's not true. It's not that it. But what's happening is, this position maybe at 80%. I just happen to know it, at 90% plus, 95%. So your movements and it was so enlightening. Like, okay, how deep down the position do you want to go to understand the mechanics, the pressure, the connections, all these things? Because I'm moving, I know he knows where you're going to go. So what are you doing where's your mental jiu-jitsu coming from?
Right.
And, again, another big thing that stuck with me that I pass forward to my students. And at this point in my life, that's what it's about for me. I'm 50 years old, and I hopefully, God willing, have a lot more time on this planet, and I'm going to pay it forward as much as possible, because for me, there are people who've really gone out of their way to help me. Not just Luis and Thiago, but within even my own academy, a lot of the parents and families, and it's this sort of culture we create, within jiu-jitsu is amazing if you stay in the light. There's a lot of stuff that happens that, whatever, just stay focused on the positive and keep it moving, So, Professor Luiz.
Yeah, I know we do have, and I know probably you tell the stories all the time. What is the nicest story that, that you were able to see, with Rickson, Like, 'cause I know we have innumerous ones, and we can say it all day, but like, which one do you think it's like, I have mine and you definitely have yours. Like, which,
Yeah,
what do you think? Yeah.
I have
What
two
stands out
Rickson
the
moments. Two Rickson moments that really kind of stand out for me. The first one actually was just in a normal class, and he was trying to make people pass his guard or stand up, whatever, but he wasn't using his hands. Okay. And so he's doing it, and I'm on the wall, like, come on. You know what I mean? Come on. You can stand up. And then it was my turn to get in there. And I'm, sometimes when you see the higher belts going, you don't really know, like, okay, yeah, but this guy that's not able to stand him in Rickson guard, he kills me. So how can he not stand? That's what you think. And I remember I got in his guard, and yeah, nothing happened. I couldn't do it. and again, I'm using my hands. I'm 100 and probably 90 pounds by then, right? And when I say I'm in the gym, I'm working out. I was not a little guy at all. And forget passing because that wasn't going to happen. But I couldn't stand up. I couldn't stand. And and these sweat wing with no hands, and I went to the wall, and I was like, okay, all right, I got to pay closer attention because, like, I don't understand what just happened. And this was after my blue belt, right? So I studied so hard for that blue belt test with Luiz. I wanted to make him proud, and I passed, and I'm like, okay, I know some stuff. And then that happened. I'm like, yeah, I don't know anything. So that was one. The other thing that was amazing was when Salo came. When Salo came to the gym, and everyone was like, man, let's see now. This is Salo, 3-time repeat world champion, double gold. Man, this is going to be amazing. And so everyone's rolling, but not really, because everyone's kind of like watching what's happening over there with Rickson and Salo. And it was amazing to see how, Rickson just did whatever he wanted, and I think Rickson was probably 40 at the time. He did, and much respect to Salo and Shanji, that amazing Jiu Jitsu practitioners. On that day, I didn't feel so bad because I'm like, man, he's doing that to Salo. So
Everybody's getting it.
It was, and always so. Rickson was always just a humble guy, man. He's never, braggadocious or this just outspoken. No, he's just, just a normal guy would talk to you. And of course, for me, again, I'm a white belt, blue belt at the time, so it was a little intimidating to, want to approach him. But every time I asked him a question or, whatever, he was super helpful and humble in his response. Not like, like how do you not know that? Or you know what I mean? Or belittling in any way, shape, or form. So that kind of made you, man, it was rough, but you wanted to keep coming back. And so those are the
Only
there are all kinds
only the
of
true
moments.
warriors.
Yeah.
Only the true warriors would come back.
Those were kind of the two that stick out for me. There were a bunch, but I think those two moments were enlightening to me because I didn't understand how it was possible for a person just to use their legs.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Their hips and their weight and just shifting and not allow another person to stand up who's using every body part available. I didn't really understand that. And so, and even now, it's something that I study every day. I study every day without fail because not so much like more techniques. I'm not necessarily interested in more, but I'm interested in understanding what I know or what I feel I know on a deeper level, if that makes sense. And those who understand pressure, when Luis and Thiago can put pressure on me and they're, and I've got 50, 60 pounds on them and they put pressure on my ribs to the point where I want to, let me out of here.
You start to get anxiety almost.
Right, exactly. There's something to be learned there, right? And so, I know that transfers from Rickson to them to me, and, again, God willing to all my students as well. So.
See, it's a lot of the stuff that a lot of people will sit there and they'll say, well, okay, yeah, everybody's talking about their pressure game, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, wow, we don't believe it until they feel it. Once they feel it, it's a whole different level.
It's not something that can be even seen or experienced from the outside, and I know, again, people tend to think, oh, yeah, you're just saying that because those are your buddies. I'm like, no,
No.
not at all. And pretty soon, whenever they're out here again, you'll get to feel it for yourself. But it's a real thing. When you talk about invisible jiu-jitsu and things like that, people don't. Again, they're like, he's part of the cults, he's part of the tribe, and I'm just calling it like I see it, man. It's on the outside. If you see me and then you see Luis, you're gonna see, man, that guy's huge. He's gonna smoke him. But I was there at the Worlds when Luis submitted every single person in his division. Mind you, the only black belt at the Masters Worlds to submit everyone. No points, submission. Okay? And then we go to the open division, and the first guy he fought was like 230 and like 6'3". He was huge. And I was like, holy... Luis won. Then he wins the next fight. I think 4 fights and then the final. The final was against like a 5th or 6th degree black belt that's like 250 or whatever it was. And this is not like athleticism. Do you know what I mean? It's not like some magic tricks he's doing. It's like understanding. It's when people say jiu-jitsu is like chess, I don't really know if they understand what they're saying. It's cool to say that, but what do you mean by that statement? What do you mean by how they apply pressure? What do you mean by how he is able to shift his way so he knows the guy's going to go here, so he goes there? Like, all these things take years to understand. And so, for me, I think I chased my black belt like crazy. I was still studying for that test at 4:00 in the morning the day of. I'll never forget. I was doing reps in my academy in Sao Paulo because I wanted to pass a bag. I was like, I've arrived. And then I'm like, man, no, you haven't. Like, now you're just scratching the surface. And when I think about now it starts, and people had always said that, it begins at black belt. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I get my black belt. It's cool, but nah, not at all. And even now, almost 6 years into it, I'm still learning every day. So, amazing, man. Like, I could go on for days and days with stories. I drive my family crazy with stories of jiu-jitsu all the time.
Tell us a little bit about any story, like any crazy story about a competition. Were you at the I think you were at the Bad Boy International that we had to fight the whole Jean Labelle school. Were you there at the time?
Oh my goodness!
That Thiago
So
won the fight against a Russian kid.
Yeah, Thiago won the fight, and the kid kicked him. Remember, the kid kicked Thiago in the face.
Yeah, the kid kicked Thiago in the face, and I jump on the mat and I kick the guy in the head, and then I see like the whole. I think Joe Luz, they all came in. And Jiu Labelle guys, they came in to have a fight. And I'm like, I posted, like base fight. Like, yeah, let's fight. I guess all these big guys. And then suddenly they all step back. I'm like, yeah, you got to get some respect. And then, I kind of look over my shoulder, like, because they were like too scared. So when I look it back this way, it's like I see Rickson coming, everybody else, Joe Moreira, Bo, everybody else coming in, And then I was like, oh, they were stepping back, not because of me. They're stepping back because of this guy. But it was crazy. Like you said, man, there's so much stories that we went through, like the reality. And I think that's what people actually love to hear about it, Like I always have my students, sometimes I actually talk too much because I want to share, man. Like people really don't understand. People walk in the gym, they do a 45 minutes class and they want to be out of there, And it's like, no, man, I got so much here that you should learn. You should listen, So I don't know if the passion that we have, it's, way more than a lot of people. A lot of people, they just want to go there and do exercise. And we're like, no, man, you don't understand. You didn't live this. But really, a lot of people didn't have the chance to live what we lived. No. Fought what we fought, conquered the things we conquered. So it does make a difference, And so when we talk about jiu-jitsu, it's like the value that jiu-jitsu represents in my life.
Right.
You know, it's everything. You know, of course, God first, but you know, my mom and my dad they provide me to be able to do what the things I did. But jujitsu, man, was the tool. You know, and as a tool that God gave me, I was able to use this tool and change people's lives. You know, and I one time when Rickson was here, he's sitting across the table and we're talking. You know, and he goes, and man, every time Rickson talks, you know, everybody shut up and you just enjoy, you know, because the guy is like a, you know, it's a living library, you know, of knowledge, you know, about jiu-jitsu and life. So every time man Rickson talks or he calls or I call, you know, it's like, you know, sometimes I call to talk and I end up just listening, you know. And because, you know, the good important thing too is to remain humble
Right.
and to learn all the time. You know, the more you learn, the better you get, you know, as a fighter, as a instructor, and as a human being. You know, and of course, not better to listen to someone that has a lot more experience. You know, we're not the hard head kind of people, but
Right.
you know, every time is always. I feel like sometimes. I mean, I know you the same way. So a lot of the times when I talk, I have so much passion, so much love, and that it's like, man, you guys don't understand, right? And yes, they don't
Yep.
understand. They have
Exactly.
no idea. So sometimes it's hard to tell people, like, dude, this is what happened. I saw Rickson training with Fabio before the UFC, and Fabio is ready to fight the UFC. You know, he came on Tuesday, beat everybody up in the gym, including myself. I was like a purple belt. So, but then I see Thursday, Fabio comes back and Hicks is just going in Portuguese, you know, tá errado. Tá errado means that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. Porra. You know, you look like a white belt. And it's like you see Fabio kind of like extremely disappointed with himself, thinking like, man, I'm here ready to fight in the UFC. This guy hasn't competed for a long time. You know, and he's beating me up like a white belt. So people don't realize
They
and
don't
they won't
realize.
understand because they did not live this. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So the experiences that we had at Pico Boulevard, Rickson Gracie Gym, the tournaments, the living, you know, the breakfast in his house, training with him for Japan Open, you know, bike riding with him, you know, going to the sand dunes, you know, see him eating or rolling with Kron and him, you know, with Kron in the living room. Dude, those things, you know, it's like, hey, if you love Jin Kundo at the time and you were able to hang out with Bruce Lee, or if you like
Right.
basketball and you're able to play, you know, with Michael Jordan. So there's so much, you know, and I think this is one of the things, you know, Chris was always like, dude, we got to do a podcast. Like, dude, we got to, you know, we have one of our student, Javier, he Palomo, he's one of our brown belts and he's amazing. He has a podcast. You know, his podcast is cool. It's like, you know, and I was like, man, I don't want to do like a podcast. You know, I mean, everybody now is like that has the coolest podcast and all that stuff. He goes like, dude, you don't understand. It's not how you're gonna do it. It's what you have.
It's the
Like,
content.
yes,
You
the
know, it's
content
old
you have.
stories,
You know, and I was talked to a guy and hopefully we'll bring. I already talked to him actually, Brent Magnuson, and I call him Brent Magnificent because you know this guy is a purple belt
Author.
author. You know, like he's like one of the good friends of Jason Radman, which you know. It's Navy SEAL got blown up one of the you know the wars, and now the guy you know is a pro speaker and he has books and more books, you know. And I have actually a book on the side of my bed from this guy, and I'll show you so you can see. But you know the amount of things that jiu-jitsu do. So I'm talking to this guy Brent, and I'm like, man, you know, I want to talk about a book. I want to write my book about it.
Right.
The things that I believe, you know, the four things that we talk about it, you know, the breathing, the body movement and all that stuff. And he's like, dude, and he's like a mentor for me because he's already in a couple books. And I'm thinking, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that. And he stopped putting on on the board on the wall, and he's going, listen, coach, here I'm the black belt, okay? I said, yes, sir. And he goes, you don't understand the stories you have, the things you lived. Yes,
Right.
it's really cool to make a book on, the content, meaning position and a foundation and a program. But, bro, the stories you have, the things you say, is that what people like? When you start talking in the gym, everybody gets quiet. It's like we are
Right.
able to live through you what you were able to live at that time. We able to imagine how cool would that be?
Yep.
And I'm looking at him. I'm like, no, but that's not the book I want to write. I don't want to write a book about the experience I had. He goes, but dude, you got to understand. You got to do something like this.
But that's the
So,
amazing thing. That's the
yes.
amazing part, bro. I think when you guys did the first one, and I just happened to log on to Facebook and I saw you on there talking. It just brought back so many amazing moments and feelings and memories of how this all began. It's just not just learning the jujitsu; it's the feeling,
Yes.
it's the experience, and I think those stories are everything. Even the bike riding. So I don't know, a lot of this you may not remember,
Tell the story about the
because
bike riding. Tell the story so they
so.
know. They know. Go
I have
ahead.
two more stories about the bike riding. So we were always talking about how Rickson would ride his bike from Palisades over to Pico, and so I'm like, you know what, I can do that. I can do
Right.
that. So I grabbed my bike and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna ride to the academy and
Now
then
let's
I'm
set
gonna
it up
ride
about
home.
how far of a ride is this, so people know
From
approximately.
where I was not far, and it was maybe 10 miles,
Right.
maybe 10 miles.
It's a decent
So,
distance, you know.
so I rode to the academy and I'm like, yeah, I rode it on my bike, man. And then after, and keep in mind, classes were, depending on who's there, sometimes class ends when it ends.
Right.
You understand? So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, it might be slated for an hour, but 4.5 hours later, you might still be there training.
Absolutely.
And I remember after a class, I was like, how does he ride home? I was like, there's no way. There's no way. I actually had to call. I called my housemate had a truck. I had to call him like, man, you got to come here because I'm not. I can't move. I'm not riding. I'm like, and he's riding both ways,
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
It's uh, and making it look so easy. And I think just amazing time, man. It was an amazing time where you really got to be a firsthand student of everything happening. And
Right.
and on that mat, there are a bunch of people who ended up in the UFC. There are a bunch of people. I actually have a picture, which I wish I had with me right now. I'd show you guys. I have a
Yeah, you got to
picture.
post a lot more of those pictures on Instagram.
Yeah,
Those are awesome pictures.
there's a picture that I have, and every single person in that picture, uh, except for Lamal's son, is a black belt today.
Wow.
Every single person. Now think about this. How often do you take pictures in class, and and it was just like a random day,
Right.
How often do you take pictures in class, and okay, well that person doesn't train anymore, and da da da. This happens. Every single person in that picture uh, is a black belt. Most of whom third degree and above, which is amazing. You
That's
know.
incredible.
We had some good times, man. Luis and Thiago got me on the surfboard. They got me on a surfboard, which still don't know how to this day he got me on the surfboard. And he's out there and he's surfing, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll go. And I get out there and I'm like, oh man, of course he's making it look easy. So how hard can it be? So I tried to stand up on the board, no go, couldn't stand. So I'm just paddling on the side. I'm like, man, this guy makes everything look so easy. And
It's because I
we
had
we
like
would
a
do we would go
1,500
surf.
years old,
Yeah, we would
I've
go
been
surf, and
around.
then we would go train in the sand for a few hours, and that was the life. That was the life, man. It was a special time. It was a special time. even when we reconnected years later after they came back from Brazil, I wasn't even going to open up an academy. I was so, and I want to keep this completely positive, so I don't want to say anything about anyone, but someone else, another instructor had told me that I should never open an academy. Okay. And when I tell you like the different energies that you can get from people around you, and I remember talking with Luiz and Thiago about this, and I'm like, man, well, what do you think? And they were like, absolutely do it. Absolutely do it. And it was that conversation, I talked it over with my wife. We dove in, and here we are today. So I can say that they were integral in the beginning, in the middle, and now, even though not seeing each other every day and whatnot, it's those bonds that were forged at a time when, if you really wanted to learn, you had to hustle to learn.
Right.
You really had to sort of, go get it, because you weren't being spoon fed at all. Here's where I am. If you want it, if it takes you 2 hours to get there, so be it. If it takes you however long, so be it. You gotta do it. And so, we would have these we would train like crazy, and then have these big feasts and eat, and then go train again. It was just a beautiful, beautiful time, man. And of course, you go to tournaments, it's war. It was war. It wasn't like.
Do you remember? I don't know if you remember. If I'm not wrong, I don't know if it was a blue belt. Maybe it was a blue belt, or I think it was a blue belt. I'm almost sure it was a blue belt. But anyway, it was the last fight of the tournament that we had, right? It was a tournament against the Machados and Joe Moreira and probably Hoist. I don't remember if Hoist was on that one too, but anyway, it was whoever was at the time. I mean, it's been a long time, blue belt, right? But I remember that the final match was me against a guy from the Machados, and Rickson's gym and the Machado's gym were in the same points, and whoever would win that fight would take the tournament. And then literally they make a circle of everybody. Like the mat become like one of those beaches.
Like the old Rickson videos.
Like the old Rickson literally tournament. It started everybody on the side, right? So this kid from Machado, it was like one of the assistant instructors. I think we were purple belt, remembering now. I think it was just the beginning of my purple belt. But anyway, if I'm not wrong, I think that was around 96, right? And if, once again, if it was blue or purple, it don't matter. But this was the situation, And I don't know if you remember this one, but so, everybody's like, you got to win. You win this fight, and then we take the trophy, blah, blah, blah. That everybody's screaming. The whole team, looked like we're ready to get, into, a valley to the fight. And this kid is full of, attitude. And then we both go in the middle. You ready, fight. And man, I was so freaking nervous because, I swear to God, I didn't even know I was there. That's how nervous I was. We touch hands. This guy grabs me on my gi, literally does me a tomonage, right? Foot on the hip and flip me over. He flipped me over and mount, right? So this is like we touch hands. We didn't walk around. We touch hands. He grabs my gi, sit, and that's how stiff and nervous I was. I didn't see anything. I just saw the whole room rolling. And when I look back up, he's on top of me with his eyes bigger than mine, going for an X choke. And I'm thinking, holy shit, I lost the tournament, right? And then at this point, everybody started getting closer and closer. The whole Machado, I remember, everybody, Higgin, everybody, Johnny, everybody jumping, and I'm, and this, we're talking about 30 seconds, and now this already went with him 6-0, 4 for the mount, 2 for the sweep.
Right.
like less than a minute started, and I'm thinking, holy crap, what a disappointment. And then I remember both hands on the hip, big bump up, and my friend, I push him and he puts the hand on the ground. I move back in, I flip over, and I end up him and I got him on the foot lock and I won the fight. My God, man. My God. Everybody picked me up and so we won the tournament. So, like, dude, it couldn't be any better, like the things that happened with us back in the days, like it was just amazing, like I can close my eyes and remember this day, man. It was just unbelievable, and I remember, I don't know if you were there, but everybody throwing me up and screaming, we won the tournament and the trophy. So and I mean, back in the, now you have, everybody in Cali, everywhere in the whole, California, north or south, whatever you go, there's jiu-jitsu gyms now, and Brazilians, and the Americans that became black belts. And now, tournaments are, IBJJ, FSG. But back in our days,
It's
the tournaments
different.
were, literally, the only guy that used to do a good tournament was Joe Moreira.
Joe Morera, yep.
That's it. That's it. And then Rickson used to do, like, at the end of the year, him and Royce at the gym, right? And then eventually they stopped. And then
So was it like an invitational at the gym?
Yeah. Just like a gym. Yeah, literally. They would get together and they would match the weight and the belt, and they will fight.
Right.
But looking back in the days, and then sometimes we used to do something with Machados too, but not as much. But the only tournaments that we would all fight against each other was, and this we're talking about 91, 92, 3, and 4, and 5. So at least pretty much 4 years, because IBJJF didn't get to the States until the Pan Ams was in 96. The first Pan Ams was in 96, if I'm not wrong. So, you know what I'm saying? So we really never had a chance.
It was
Three tournaments in a year.
different time. It was
Three tournaments in a year.
There was nothing, and then I think in '97 was Kleber's first tournament, right? The first invitational that he had, that we all went to, and it's funny because I saw him post something last year, or whatever, that they're in their 23rd year or 22nd year or something. I was like, wow, and we were at the first one, But it was tournaments now. It's different. It's different. I think again, back then, like that sort of camaraderie, everyone's just together. Now it's like sometimes, people stay, they leave. Like, no, we're together. If I'm going at noon and you're going at 9 p.m., hey, I'm staying till 9:30. It doesn't matter. Those type of bonds, which is pretty amazing. And I think, again, that's why, 20 something odd years later, we still have, so many of the relationships, with Nico and Bo. It's like, you might not talk to the guys, but you see them and you're like, hey, Cristiano, hey, it's still present. Those good vibes, those good feelings are still there. So it was, I think it laid a very solid foundation for what we all have today. Let's put it that way, because everyone really, really, we worked hard, man. We worked hard. We worked really, really, really hard and had a lot of fun. And so the tough times were tough and the great times are great. You carry that forever.
Right. That's why a lot of the times when he'll tell the stories, at the gym and stuff. It kind of makes you jealous, because just coming in, I'm a blue belt, but it's like you kind of just want to put yourself in that time and place back when you guys started. You know what I mean? So you could be around the whole aura of Rickson and just live that too. So.
Yeah, but I think that's something he's also been able to recreate, because if people Luis is definitely the master of the class ends when it ends and the round ends when it ends.
Yep.
Okay, so he gets that from Rickson. He does it. I get it from him. You know, sometimes rounds go 20 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes. You know, sometimes the hour and a half class goes for 4 hours.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not about it's about making sure when you walk into the academy, you have that experience when you're leaving, that you're leaving with, you know, you learn so there's a takeaway. Does that
Right.
make
You're not
sense?
leaving empty. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You
Absolutely.
know, and that's something we strive to do every day, and that's you know, again, it all started then, and it's amazing. So in many ways, you know, we're trying to recreate, you know, that sort of experience we had then, now, you know, and I guarantee you have a ton of amazing stories of things that you experience, you know, in the last few years with him, without a doubt, and those are things you're going to be
Absolutely.
able to pay for it as well. So
Yep.
it's
Hopefully one day.
you will, my friend. Trust me. There were days, you know, especially after taking privates, and I was like, man, I thought I understood that. No, didn't know. And I'm not
Yep.
talking about just blue belt. I'm not talking about just brown belt. I'm talking about sometimes at black belt.
Right.
You know, there are things, many things, mind you, but there are some times at black belt that we got done training, and I was like, you know, you have that moment where you want to give the belt back. You're like, yeah, nah,
Yep.
maybe,
Yep.
you know, and simple. I'm not talking about these wild, crazy, you know, acrobatic things. Simple concepts
Just simple
and
basics.
basics, man, and the fundamentals. And I'm again, you know, if you're listening and you think I'm a little crazy and whatnot, you know, possibly I am. But one thing I can tell you is this: if your fundamentals are not strong, nothing else matters. And I know for a fact, you know, with Luis and Thiago, that that is something that you will have, because that is something that Rickson demands, and that is in turn something they demand, and so in turn is something that I demand, right? And so we're able to reach back into history and pay it forward just by keeping those things present, you know. And I
Right. And
know
keeping
that
the standards high.
yeah, have to, and so you're able to get good experiences from that because you know you're really doing something, you know, worthwhile, you know.
Right.
And so it's you know, when I think about some of those experiences, those tournaments we had, and some of those like going crazy and going out to eat at the, remember that Korean barbecue up the street from the academy? We would go there and just, you know, all of us. I remember going there a lot with Nico, and both of us looking at each other like, man, we just got our butts beat for the last 3 hours, and okay, we'll come back tomorrow. You gonna be there tomorrow? Of course, I'm gonna be there tomorrow. You know, and that's what it was. And you know, you would never, you would never know from the outside looking in that, man, all these guys are so just so tough and so crazy. It wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was the spirit of the sort of unity that we had that just made it amazing. You know, because again, I want to reiterate that even all the privates that I took with him, he didn't have to do it. It was not. It wasn't a money thing. It wasn't a money thing. You know what I mean? Because he's already working all these extra hours and shifts and things like that. I think he saw in me that I was hungry and wanted to learn,
It was a
and
brotherhood
so
thing.
yeah, you know, and he and then I almost moved in with them. You know, I was had they stayed, you know, I'm still kind of mad at you about that, by the way. But had they not moved back to Brazil, you know, we would have been housemates, and that would have been even more amazing. But you know, it was time for them to
We
go, and
really try. We really try, but it was a time we had to move on. But it was a good thing at the end of the day.
it
You
was a
know,
great thing.
it was a
It
great
was
thing. It was a great thing.
it was a great thing because it helped me grow, and you know, I do want to say this: there are a bunch of people that helped me along the way, you know, and I do really appreciate them, from Ronaldo to there are a bunch of guys that really not guys, a bunch of professors, I should say, that really helped me.
You can name names.
You
This is
know,
not just about us; it's about
yeah,
everybody. So
Ronaldo and Eduardo, some guys that really looked out for me in the meantime, and it helped me appreciate even more when I got back with Luis and Thiago, because they were amazing. They were amazing the way they helped me. And then when I get and Henry, there are some great guys that really did a lot for me. And so I appreciate them. But again, reconnecting with Luis and Thiago was always, it wasn't just about the jiu-jitsu. It was like, that's how I started. You know what I mean?
right.
It's like, that's how I was born into this, if you will. And with that connection with Rickson, it's priceless, man.
Yeah.
It's priceless. So,
So
nice. Go ahead.
So let's talk about your schools. You have the two schools. The main one is El Sobrante. You have adults and kids.
yes.
You guys compete too? You guys have a competition team?
We do. So we started off in San Pablo. We moved from there to El Sobrante, to a bigger location. We've had the Hercules location probably the longest. It's a small location. We do compete a lot. I'll just say it. We're the number one youth competition team in the Bay Area, and plan on staying that way for many years to come. Right. The kids work super hard. The adults work super hard. And I don't want to take the credit, because it's not me. It's what I've been taught. Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
I'm just
absolutely.
passing forward what I've been taught. And so, to me, jiu-jitsu is so much more than competition. I think competition is a very small part of jiu-jitsu. It really is. But if you are going to compete, we're not just going to show up.
Right.
We're going to win. And so in order to do that, you must prepare.
Yep.
And what that means is not learning 10 million things. It might be learning 10 things and doing them 500,000 times. And so that's what I preach, to the adults, to the kids. We have this little phrase, shiny toy syndrome. I think sometimes people go to class and need to learn something new every day to feel satisfied. And doing the same old armbar 5,000 times is boring. But I remember before the last belt test we had out here, some of the brown belts, Sam in particular, I made her do probably 2,000 to 3,000 arm bars every single day. And you can ask her about that, because that's no exaggeration. Every single day, you must be perfect. You're going for your brown belt, it must be perfect. These are things now that the kids do. We have kids that do hundreds of reps every single day on the same position. And why? Because let's really think about it from a self-defense standpoint. If you're only repping something 10, 15, 20 times, and you get into a situation that's high anxiety, high stress, your body's going to react to what it knows. Yep. And you don't know anything after 10 or 15 reps. Nothing.
You need that muscle memory. You
have to have the muscle memory, and you can't be thinking about it. There's no thinking. There's doing. If you're thinking, you're already late.
Yep.
Right? And so your timing, you might know intellectually what to do, but your body's not going to know how to respond. So this is, one of the things we really try to push at the academy, with the kids and the adults. An amazing crew of people, an amazingly supportive crew of people. That's we're obviously in this sort of crazy times we're in right now. But even with that, I communicate with most of them every single day, and it's, again, it's so much more than just, jiu-jitsu is a bunch of different techniques. It's like an extended family, it's all the energy we bring to each other. We celebrate birthdays together. We do all kinds of things. And that is, while at the same time, working hard, learning how to defend yourself, and empowering people, I think is the most important thing. I think a lot of times, we live in a society where people focus on the negative.
Yep.
They focus on the drama, they focus on the politics, but there's so much beauty to this life that we have. And,
absolutely.
when you're able to share that with other people and empower them and inspire them to go way beyond what they thought they could do, because look, I'm a great example of that. I'm not a multi-time world champion or all these different accolades, but you know what? I've been blessed to come across certain people that have empowered me in such a way that I can pay it forward and empower others in ways they never thought possible.
And that in itself is
And so,
priceless.
some of my students were able to meet Luis out in Vegas when we
Mm-hmm.
went out there for the Kids International, and that's a tough tournament. They came back with goals. We have people who went to Pan Am's came back with goals, and
Awesome.
we're not the name brand, we're not a name brand, school. We're not Atos. We're not, AOJ, Checkmate,
Right.
whoever,
Mm-hmm.
But one thing we are is very much rooted in the philosophies, of jiu-jitsu that have been passed down from Rickson to Luis and Chavo,
And that's
to,
what
to
it's
me,
about. Yeah.
and that means more to me than anything. When we have students that come in and they weren't doing well in school and they start being super disciplined on the mat and their parents turn around and say, hey, my kid just got an A, straight A's, they're winning science projects and all these things. We're empowering them way beyond what people think is just a bunch of different techniques on a mat.
Yep.
It's way more than that. So as they grow in their lives, they'll know that they can accomplish anything. They can do anything. And that's
great.
that's what it's
amazing.
about, man. That's what it's about. I'm very,
And
very
one of the things since you're talking about the kids, and yes, like you said, the competition, it's an important thing for them to do it because they're able to have that exchange. If eventually they ever gonna get in a situation that they have to defend themselves, at least the competition you don't have punches and kicks and stuff like that, but at least they are able to engage and feel like, hey, this person is attacking me, I gotta defend myself and all that stuff. But talking about bullying and stuff,
right.
about the kids. Once you kids are, not just training the jiu-jitsu for competition, but training jiu-jitsu as a self-defense. My kids, a couple of years ago, I would say 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, they, both, it was funny because on the same year, both got picked up on school and they defend themselves and they they got bullied again, and they didn't do anything that would hurt the other kid, but they were just able to defend themselves and say, hey. And so you're not only able to defend yourself, but you're able to control your
Right.
feelings and your fears. So you can take that to life, towards your job, towards your school, towards to be whatever you want to become one day, because you'll be fearless of, I'm going to take the chance to do this because I am not afraid to do so. So, it's a really important thing. Like you said, it's not just the competition. Competition is
Right.
just a little part of it. Yes, it's cool, but not everybody really is a competitor.
Right.
But getting that tool to be able to look someone eye in eye, just an example. I had one time one older guy walk in the gym on Monday and goes give me a big hug, and he's just he's so excited. He's just, thank you so much, coach. I would say he was around 60 at the time. He's still in good shape, 65 max, but he's still in good shape. He could do the class. He was training for a while, and he was just freaking out. And he was thanking me so much for teaching him jiu-jitsu and teaching him so well because he got his house got attacked by the ex-boyfriend of his daughter, which she was in college. And so you think about a college kid,
Right.
big, so he was able, and the guy kind of went there to hurt her. And he actually got in a fight. The guy attacked her, and he tried to defend her. And then eventually he was able to secure the guy and put him down and choke him. And the guy got arrested. So it's not just a competition tool, It's something that you can carry on to your life. The reason I started jiu-jitsu is because I got bullied all the time.
Right.
And once 6 months later, I was able to go back to the people that bullied me, and I was like, hey, no more. And they're like, what? I'm like, no more. What you talking about? And then they, of course, they did it. They attacked. I was able to defend myself, and from that day on, they look at me different. So I can't tell you, relationship wise, being a dad, you know what I'm saying, or just being a boyfriend to someone, the importance, being a man or a girl, but knowing how to defend yourself is huge.
It is
You
huge.
know, it's the main thing here. So it's a really important thing. It helps a lot. The
Yeah.
confidence, the self-esteem.
Yep.
So everything together makes it such an important thing. And that's why when, Chris and me and Thiago would talk about doing the podcast was not only to reach, for fighters or, the UFC people we train or all the famous people, was actually to go to everywhere.
Right.
Because, I mean, look, you might not be a UFC fighter, but I guarantee you that some of the fighters that never will, never did, and never will do the difference in lives that you already have done it. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, the competition will be good for you, it'll be good for your gym, but at the end of the day, just being instructor, look how many lives you saved and helped and stuff like that, so
It's a privilege, man.
it's a
It's
privilege,
it's a
yes.
real serious privilege. I think jujitsu is an amazingly empowering, activity for people to do, and to be in a position where you can positively impact so many lives. I mean, we have some little kids that are 3 years old. At 3, I was not going to anyone's. I was probably
Oh
bouncing off
boy.
the wall. There's no way. And we have little 3-year-olds doing takedowns to armbar. I'm like, whoa! How do you like? It's nothing. And these kids today are little sponges. They soak everything up. And then we have watching the relationship between a lot of the adults and the kids, helping them, empowering them. It's just an amazing community that we have, and even magnified more given the challenges that the society that we live in faces. Not
Yes. Yes.
not to not to be too political, but I think the mat is at one place where we can all just be, right?
Right.
We can all just be and engage and share and respect each other and help each other and push each other. And it's everyone, and again, there are many other martial arts out there, and I've done them, but I strongly believe that everyone should train. Everyone should experience. Everyone should have the opportunity to experience the beauty that I've been able to experience on the mat.
Absolutely.
And so it is more than competition. We love the competition. We love the fight to wins. We love JJ World League. I think JJ World League is probably going to come out to Chicago at some point next year.
Nice.
And
We'll make some noise.
yeah, it's they're really well run, and we have people who have a lot of success on Fight to Win so far, and so that part is fun. But what really inspires me is when you have students look at their teammates with that sort of pride that they're doing it, and then they realize, hey, I can do that too.
Yeah.
Right? Because that whole thing of I can do that too is me. It's me, And when you guys said, "Yeah, do the academy," and I look and I'm like, "Man, I can do that too." I really can. And I'm sure from you, before you was Rickson. You looked at Rickson like, "Hey, you know what? I can do that too." And so it's like we see how it gets passed on to the point now where I have students who one day want to open up an academy. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
How amazing is that you are able to impact someone's life to the point where they want to kind of follow in your footsteps, And those are the things that I think,
Priceless.
it's you can't put a price tag on that at all. When that phone call or that text message you get where the person's thanking you for helping them deal with whatever it happens to be in their life at that time, those moments are amazing, man. They're
It's like you say,
amazing.
like the paying it forward. It is
Yeah.
priceless. It
You
is
know,
priceless. Well, hey, look,
so
before we go, I want to make sure that you get all your plugs in. So do me a favor, plug the schools again, the Instagram, the Facebook, everything.
so our Instagram is at kolajosejujitsu.com. So it's my name, kolajosejujitsu.com. Facebook is kolajosebjj. We have an academy in Hercules, California, or in Northern California in the Bay Area, and then we have an academy in El Sobrante, California. They're about 5 miles apart. We have classes for adults and kids. We have women-only classes. Um, what else? Blessed. Appreciate you all for listening in, and
We appreciate you for coming on the
You'll
show, and it was a
you'll
pleasure meeting you.
notice that my logo has the LCTC emblem in it. You know,
Yep, it's in there.
it's not by chance. It's on purpose. You know, I know what my foundation is, always, always, and forever, and so I'm very appreciative of that. Huge thanks to. I do want to say this. They're so. It takes a family, right? Sometimes to make things happen. So there's so many people that have helped me along the way. From Coach Sam has been amazing since day one, always there doing everything. We have a bunch of parents. I can't name them all, but thank you to all of you, from Christy to Sharice to Kat to Julie to amazing, a bunch of amazing students that have helped, and Deidre, everyone, Eddie, Ryan, Jason, everyone has been like love to all of you, because that is the essence of who we are, right? So the academy in and of itself is, it's just a building, right? But it's the people there and the families there, Jimmy, everyone who make this thing happen.
Yes.
And so much love to all of you. I want to name everyone because I don't want anyone to feel left out. Rayanne, everybody, you guys are amazing. So I appreciate you all. And, we'll get through these times now and come back stronger. We have some secrets, if you want to call them, up our sleeve for next year. We're going to try to put some people in the ADCC. You heard it here first. Yes, we're going to do it. And they're
Awesome.
younger than anyone can possibly imagine. But we're going for it, because why
Look
not?
out.
Why not? And so, man, much love to you guys for putting this on. Like, again, the timing of this was amazing, because when I logged on that day,
Yeah.
It just made my day. It just
That's
made
awesome.
my day.
That's awesome. It's so good to hear.
I can't express enough. I cannot express enough my gratitude for Thiago and Luis. Every other professor that's helped me along the way, I appreciate. Rickson, Eduardo Rocha, Marcio Simas, even Crispin, everyone that's helped me along the way. I appreciate you guys. But I do want to reiterate again, Luis and Thiago gave me that, Henry as well, but Luis and Thiago gave me that boost, that push, that sort of eye-opening experience to understand what could be possible, and then from there, watch you grow. And so I don't say that lightly, guys, and I'm not. If you're listening in, I'm not trying to be culty or anything or the other. This is how I sincerely feel. You can ask my boys; they'll tell you how I talk about them, because I've been able to do so much in my life and share so much with so many people. And it was amazing for someone to do that for me. Does that make sense? So I appreciate that.
I really appreciate all the words, and and I always hear you saying how grateful you are, and thank you. I mean, thank God for put our path together and become good friends. Like you said, it was not about the money, it was about the friendship, the brotherhood, the flag that we were under, Rickson Gracie for life, and we're still on it. But at the end of the day, the only reason you got what you get is because you put a lot of time, a lot of work, You know, of course, we could be boosting you as much as we could, but if you really didn't want to make it happen, it would not happen. So you got to give a lot of props, and, you know, you made it happen. You put a lot of work, a lot of passion, a lot of love. So I always tell this to all my students is, you know, you can come to the gym, but I'm not going to do the hard work for you. You know, I will do my part, but you got to accept and make it that, you know, once again, it's the tool that will provide them that's going to change their lives. And to finish here, you know, one of the things that we learned with Rickson, I always say in all the podcasts, I think something that's, you know, stuck with me, you know, with one of the amazing things he told me. He goes, you know, my dad, Rickson saying, well, you know, my dad one time was saying, you know, something that he was doing, and he was like halfway doing it. He's like, pull him on the side. He's like, listen, you know, so this is my own words. Of course, his words are way better than mine. But what I understood was, you know, if you're going to do something in life, pick that thing that you love the most and make as best as you can.
Great.
Don't do halfway. In the case of jiu-jitsu, you know, you just don't be a number out there. You know, if you're going to teach, when you walk for that 1 hour, you'll be the best teacher that ever God created, and you'll do the best, right? Because the result is always greatness. You know, you work hard, the result will be greatness. So what I word for those words was, you know, no matter where you put your hands, man, when you do it, you know, do as the best as you could, because people will feel the love, the vibe, the positivity, you know, the good things that they got it, you know, and it will change their lives. So, I mean, how wonderful is that you came to this world, right?
Right.
And you were able to impact so many people. We're not Helio Gracie. I mean, think about it. What Helio Gracie, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's right there sitting with God, talking to him. You know, I mean, dude, how many people can actually, I mean, we have millions and millions of people, right? I mean, just think about it. How many people can actually walk in here and touch thousands and thousands of people with something that they do? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's amazing. Yep. So, you know, I know the people that we touched, you know, they just as grateful as you are towards me, and as grateful as I am to you, as grateful I am towards Rickson, you know, to the people that we share, you know, this moment here in Earth. We just passing a moment here, man.
Exactly.
You know, and nothing better than be able to live, you know, doing something that we love to do, you know, and on top of all that, we can have a life, we can provide to our family. Yes. And at the end of the day, we still can change people's life. People that had drugs, people that had problems, you know, with depression, people that was drugs and alcohol. I mean, man, we have that tool. We are, you know, that powerful. So, and like I said, at the end of the day, man, nothing, every time you say it, I mean, it's nice to see, you know, how grateful you are, because, you know, it fills my heart, you know, with pride, you know. But at the end of the day, I wasn't doing for a reward. I was doing because, you know, you're my brother, and we share the same passion, you know. But dude, by doing something that we love so much, you know what I'm saying? Look at the friendship, like you said the other day, man. I'm able to provide my family with the jiu-jitsu, you know, and then I can say the same for Rickson, you know, because of Helio and Rickson, you know. Now here I am teaching jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. So we are very lucky, you know, to do things. I want to say one more thing. I want to kind of do it, like, because these guys, they always talk about me a little bit, and they're like big times. Mm-hmm. And I was able to talk to this guy. Actually, the book, the name is The Trident, by Jason Redman. You know, is a Navy SEAL leader. It says the Trident, the forging and the reforging of a Navy SEAL leader. This guy, you know, got a grenade that blew up by him, right? For him to save people. And he came to my gym by this friend, by this student called Brent Magnuson, which has already, I think, his second or third book. He's second, he did second. Mm-hmm. So he did The Last Samurai.
I have to look both of them
Yeah,
up,
we'll
but-
talk about more. But so samurai, I think it's the last samurai or being a samurai, and then the one that he just did is the Roger Up,
Roger
by
Up, yep.
Brent Magnuson, and then I had the chance to meet, this guy, his mentor, Jason Redman, and then he wrote it. Luis, huge thank for the training session and reuniting my warrior martial mindset, and it's like, dude, you're a Navy SEAL. Like, I did not reunite your warrior martial mindset. You are, you are like a ninja, a samurai, continue to share your gift, us, lead always plus overcome all. So this was December 18, 2018. So, man, sometimes we have the chance to meet people. I mean, just think about it. What this guy talks for thousands and thousands of people,
Right.
and he's saying like, "Thank you for reuniting my martial. I want to train, again." I mean, bro, once again, the passion,
Right.
the things that we overcome, the results, the reward we got, it's priceless. I know we have a number in this earth.
Yep.
That because of that number, it's for us to be able to live life and pay our bills. But I know if we didn't have to, jiu-jitsu would be for free. I guarantee you.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, man, the love, the respect, the greatness, everything, all the positivity things that we built, is mutual. It's not only from you to me and Thiago, but it's from us to you.
Thank
All
you.
right, brother.
Bye-bye.